Hello, you've tuned in to the Administrators Table. I'm Steve Contente, Bristol Town Administrator. Today is Thursday, September 19th, 2019. We have two special guests today. To my right, Bristol Town Council Chairman Nathan Calouro, and also Tim Shaw, Acting Director of Bristol Parks and Recreation.
Hello.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
We have a good number of things to talk about, town-wide with the chairman, and also recreation, some of the happenings, exciting things that happen there at recreation. Chairman, we'll get right into business. Exciting projects in Bristol, a lot of infrastructure projects and updates, improvements, maintenance improvements, one of which is the Prudence Island dock. I believe there was an article in today's local newspaper that references Senator Reid helping with the grant funding. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Prudence Island dock?
Yeah, if you've been down there, yesterday started some of the work. The sheet pilings, which is the really thick pieces of metal that keep the dock and not have it fold into the water. They've started that process. If you've been watching that, it's been something that's been going on for a while. This particular portion of it is the north face, and you mentioned Senator Reid, and I think it's worth saying it again, is that he has been instrumental in helping us fund that. And what I mean by that, federal grants in this instance is about $1.1 million, a little bit more than that, that he helped us procure, which means that it's Bristol taxpayer dollars are not directly affected. So our tax rate doesn't go up, but yet we're able to do the things that we need to do. This particular project has been something that we've been working with for a while, and the owner of the ferry has seen the benefits of that. He was obviously part of the success there. We have a great relationship, and it continues to get better with our community in Portsmouth, along with the Portsmouth residents on Prudence Island. It's been working out really well, and that improvement is, as I said, that 1.1 million is a wonderful thing to help us offset those costs.
Right. For our residents at home watching, for them to better understand the condition of the pier, we have some photos. I actually took those earlier this week, and you can see, I don't know if we can get those on camera now, but there's some photos of sinkholes, and essentially the sheet piling. The dock is like one of those cake pans, so the bottom of the dock is eroding out into the harbor. So the sheet pile arrived yesterday, the crane is there. And this is going to help, as you said, the ferry passengers and any resident that is walking in that area. It is public space, and I know it's going to greatly improve access for our commercial fishermen that rely on that dock also. So it's good to get that project underway, and hopefully that by end of winter that'll be complete and ready for our next major project on there. We can maybe talk about that.
Yeah, what the administrator I think is alluding to is the marina expansion, which if you drive down there or walk down there, there's lots of boat slips, which of course is docks, floating docks where you tie up your boat. That marina expansion should add approximately 100 more slips, 100 more. And those will include a transient dock space. And transient dock space means temporary dock space for someone out of town to come in and use that slip, or someone, for example, that lives on the Kickamuit can use that overnight. That marina expansion was, at least the bonding was approved by the public going back a few years, which kind of points out how difficult sometimes these things are. And we like to move things along, as you know, and you're a massive part of that. But we like to do it correctly. And sometimes it takes extra time, whether it's permitting, whether it's looking for alternatives for funding, as we just talked about with the grant. But that marina expansion will be paid for by marina users. So, and in fact, it may enhance revenues coming to the town slightly. I think our goal is to have it just pay for itself. And so you've pointed out a couple of times about making sure that we're also very sensitive to the working fishermen on the dock, that those fees are not hurting them.
Right, right. To your point about it being self-funding, so essentially it may be an enterprise zone, so the fees and the generation of revenues from fuel pumps and so forth will pay for the upkeep and the the bond to do the improvements.
Yes, and in fact, that's a great point. The enterprise zone, a good example of that, of course, is the sewer department. It has a separate enterprise zone. It's part of the town. It's part of our budget, but it's semi-segregated. So everything is encompassed in there, and it was another great point with the fuel dock, along with adding extra slips and improving our current slips. That fuel dock will help boaters obviously refuel. It's actually safer to have a fuel dock than to have a boater bring out a 5-gallon after a 5-gallon. The spill possibilities are greater that way. And it's a revenue generator, and it gets more people that don't necessarily come to Bristol and shop in our shops, go to our restaurants, or just enjoy our beautiful town.
Right. So I think the resident at home that is thinking, I don't own a boat, why should I be paying for a marina expansion? I'd like to assure that person that that's not the intent. This should be an enterprise zone. It should fund itself. So there should be no impact on the tax rate. That's the intention.
I agree, and I think it may actually go the other way. We want to make it so it doesn't need to be a profit center. We don't want to burden the users, but I think it will pay for itself, plus probably give back slight revenues.
Right. One thing I talked to the harbor master about is making sure that we still have access to our residents for fishing, and to make sure that there'll always be a place out on the pier to fish. And I feel strongly about that. I recall as a young kid going out myself with my grandfather fishing at the end of the dock. So our harbor master knows that that's part of the plan. There is a pre-application that's completed with CRMC. This is a comment period now, and then we're just about ready to submit the full application to the Coastal Resource Management Council. So we're moving forward. We have our engineer in place, and as soon as the permitting is done, we plan to advertise and begin construction. So we're on track. Other projects around town, a big one, and we've heard about this for many years, but I have to give credit to you, Chairman. You stuck with this when I came into office. You were totally up to speed on it. You've been shepherding it along, and I have to give you credit for the current success where we are right now with the solar project at the landfill. Could you talk about that?
Absolutely. It's been a particular focus of mine. I've been in office for approximately 7 years and been working on it since that time. I appreciate the credit. I can tell you that yes, I have been shepherding along. There was a lot of work that happened before I got into office on this, and there was a lot of work that's got us to this point. You were part of that. Community development was part of that. Our solar consultant, Zach Bloom, was a huge part of that. Chris Kearns from the Office of Energy Resources in the state. Lots of people helped us get here. But yes, it's been a particular focus of mine. We have two different things that are going on right now. One is called virtual net metering, which is already in place. I'll get that in a moment because this stuff is not easy to understand. At least I don't think it is. And then part two is the landfill solar project. We've been working on this one in particular for quite a while, and we've gotten to a place now where it is now called a land lease. And that's just a fancy way of saying we are not subject to rate changes and all that. We are going to lease that property, the use of that property for a solar site. And that use of that will be part of the money that we get. The virtual net metering, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but simply put, is that because we are a town and it's also available in Rhode Island to a nonprofit, we get solar credits that we can then use to offset our energy. So the combination of what we just both talked about is revenues to the town of about $200,000 a year for the next 25 years.
Say it again. How much? I sound like you now.
Yeah, I know. $200,000 a year for the next 25 years. And we spent approximately $10,000, and you know what, I'll go up a little bit and say $12,000. That $12,000 is the one-time cost, and it includes the solar consultant fees and some other things that we had to do to get here, but that's it. So there's no other fees, and it's revenues coming in that we're hopefully, and you and I have talked about this, I know we've talked about it on the council, of potentially earmarking those funds for capital projects that are so very important.
Yeah. So property that the town of Bristol owned, which was the landfill, that
Yes.
we would have to cut the grass annually, and I think it was between $10,000 and $14,000 a year to
my recollection.
mow the landfill and keep the brush down. It's now going to be leased for 25 years until it's $125,000 a year, right?
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
a great point. In fact, that's the 200,000 that we talked about. I'm ballparking low. I'd rather set that expectation there because it is going to be more than that. But you're absolutely right. And the use of that landfill is zero. There's nothing else that you can do with it. There's a cap, which is a nice way of saying dirt with plastic and all of these levels to make sure that the trash stays underneath there. The solar would sit on top of it. There's no holes dug in it. There's a whole process that goes through to make sure that the neighbors are not affected, the town is not affected negatively, and ultimately, solar doesn't make a sound.
So this is happening. The developer, the lease was signed. The developer has invested funds, a great deal of funds into the project so far. He's working with National Grid for the interconnection now. So this is happening. It's in the developer's hands now. So we're just looking forward to them getting up and running, and we'll reap the benefits of it. So again, congratulations on that project.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's take a quick break, and please join us back here on the administrator's table. Thank you. Welcome back to the administrator's table. Chairman, last night we had a town council meeting.
Yes.
A number of topics came up. I thought there's some great accomplishments last night. One of them was the resolution of the commercial trash issue. And just to brief the public, if you haven't been following, what's happening is the town of Bristol is automating their trash and recycling. It's a more efficient process. We've invested into 4 new automated trucks. So essentially, rather than having a driver and 2 laborers on the back of a trash truck, we now have 1 operator and an automated arm that picks up 96-gallon carts. You're seeing this throughout the country. So our hope is that we'll save with manpower efficiencies and also reduce our workers' comp claims for injuries. So we're looking to start this first quarter of 2020, which would be January. We're hoping that we have a window of opportunity with the weather, and the snow accumulation doesn't slow us down. But we're planning for January. There'll be plenty of mailers, public information to go out beforehand for the conversion. Each resident will be receiving trash carts and recycling carts. So maybe we should talk about what was presented last night, the concerns of some of our businesses, and what the recommendations and resolutions were.
So the decision was made to continue commercial trash pickup, but mirror what we do or what we're going to do with residential. So as you pointed out, there is going to be 1 trash bin and 1 recycle bin supplied to our residents. The difference with the businesses will be that the business can, if they want to take advantage of this service, they will then purchase those bins themselves. So the resident gets it as included, but the business will actually pay for it separately. The petition that was in front of us going back a couple of meetings ago was concerned, well, there were a few businesses that kind of probably spoke for a few that had trash pickup from the town for a very long time, and we had been talking about potentially stopping commercial altogether. But after a lot of dialogue, the DPW director, Kevin McBride, had proposed, actually gave us a nice layout, and after a lot of conversation, we've opted to continue commercial trash pickup, which, this is a really important note. We're one of 2 towns in the state of Rhode Island that do this. We're not going to pick up everything. It won't be large dumpsters or anything like that. It'll be 1 and 1, like we've talked about. And we believe, the council, the administrator, and the town in general believe that it's a great way to continue to support and bolster our small and medium-sized businesses, not take that service away from them. And I don't think it, and in fact I know, it's not going to negatively affect our tax rate or ultimately our trash pickup. So we'll review this in a year to say, is it still working? Is it still appropriate? But I think it's a great way to make sure that we continue to support our local businesses.
Right. So we're going to, we used the term last night at the council meeting, we're going to mirror the residential policy for our businesses.
Well put.
But the businesses that were producing large amounts of refuse, they're going to have to find alternatives. But I think it's a reasonable approach, and I think we're on the right track to be supportive of our businesses, but at the same time being fair to all of our taxpayers. And I am fully aware that our businesses do pay taxes also.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Another business-related topic that's been recently discussed and settled, and I know there was an ordinance, I'll let you elaborate on that. It's the tangible tax exemption. And what we've been hearing from our small businesses is that we were having, not just us, pretty much every community in Rhode Island requires businesses to list all of their assets. Some businesses, like I like to use an example of a barber shop. They spend time, mostly they'll have an accountant do it, which they have to pay for, list everything that they have, whether they be chairs and instruments and so forth. They have to report this and they're taxed on it. And the tax revenues really aren't that significant, but it is a significant amount of work for those businesses. So we've come up with a proposal, and you want to tell us about what the proposal is and where we're at with it?
I do. The tangible tax is, in essence, a yearly inventory tax. And there are other communities that we looked at and tried to use the best practice. And what we came up with was a $10,000 threshold. So as you were explaining it, a business that has, let's use a barbershop, for example, has less than $10,000 worth of things, stuff, chairs, combs, those kind of things. Right now, the form is better than it was because we've done a lot of effort to make it easier, but there's a lot of effort. So the $10,000 threshold would say that a business that believes they have and does the math and says, I have less than 10,000, signs an affidavit saying that they have less than 10,000 and they're not paying tangible tax. And probably more importantly, they don't have to do all the accounting, which is a cost involved and time involved in that. So it's another step, like we were talking about with commercial pickup, to bolster the small local business. So it's a great opportunity. Now the next step is that it goes to the state because it requires legislative action to put this into place because it's a state law with tangible tax, so it has to be amended. But it's happened in other communities, and it really shouldn't be an issue.
So at 10,000, it's essentially an exemption for the first $10,000.
Exactly.
That would affect, I believe, when we looked it up, it's about 500 small businesses in Bristol will not have to spend time and track and report to the town of Bristol all of their assets. So that's about 500 businesses that are going to be saved from that.
Yeah, and I understand it's about 58% of our businesses that that'll affect, same number, right? So it's just a great way to take and the return on that, those 500 businesses approximately, the town would receive revenues of about $17,000. Yeah. The updated tangible tax right now is about $550,000. So it kind of gives you perspective, is that all that effort being done and it was a small percentage.
Yeah. Bristol is a good place to start a business and to keep your business. I believe we're the 6th lowest tax rate in the state of Rhode Island. I think all taxes are too high, but we're controlling them and controlling the costs, efficiencies, and the other important thing to know is that our commercial rate is the same as our residential rate.
It's a great point, and if you look at our other communities and compare us for services, our services are not bottom 6; they're in fact top 5. Yeah. And what we offer and what you have to pay for it is quite impressive.
Yeah. Something to be proud of.
It is.
Something else I'm proud of is last night's council meeting. We announced. I had the honor of announcing or naming our new police chief at the beginning of the meeting. That's Commander Kevin Lynch. He was the number 2 officer over at the Cranston Police Department prior to 2009. And from there, he went to the Rhode Island Division of Public Utilities and Carriers, where he's the acting administrator there. He teaches criminal justice at Roger Williams, CCRI, and BCC, and he brings a wealth of knowledge, and he has a great plan and vision for the department, and which is some department that does so well, and they really keep an eye on what's going on in town. Recently they were working on tobacco, the vaping that was being sold in some of our small retail shops. It's really a concern of ours, the implications, especially to our youth, using tobacco products, and what else is going into the vaping devices is concerning. So I know with our new chief and the efforts of all of our men and women at the police department, I think the police department's going in a great direction, and they've provided a great service for many years, and they're going to continue to do so. So I'd like to welcome Chief Lynch and wish him the best of luck. And I know the police department is really off to a great start with his leadership.
Well put. Well put.
Yeah. Acting director, you've been quiet at the end of the administrators table. We just have so much to talk about, but I like to keep this the discussions here on the administrators table a little bit light, and so I try to bring the fun stuff in. And recreation, I don't know if our residents use our recreation center that often, but I can tell you every time I go in there, when I leave, I'm usually smiling. It's a great atmosphere, a lot of positive energy, and you and your staff are doing a great job. I'm really looking forward to Director Klein coming back. She's on extended medical leave. She's doing well. We do speak with her, and she's anticipating a strong recovery. But I know with you there, and you speak to her often, and we're in good hands right now. So please tell us what's happening at the Department of Recreation.
So over at the Parks and Recreation Department, you're right, where it's a great place to go when you get to the Quinta Gamlin Community Center. It's we're proud of it. You know, I'm proud to be a part of it. What's been built there.
I'm sorry. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm a 1995 graduate of Mount Hope High School. I from there went to Plymouth State University up in New Hampshire, where I studied physical education, health, and psychology. And from there, I started my career at the Boys and Girls Club of Pawtucket as a program director at the Teen Center, which was a great experience for me. And from there, I actually got into Parks and Recreation as the director for the town of Middletown from 2004 to 2013. And most recently, I was a senior director running the daily operations at the Hockomock Area YMCA in Franklin, Massachusetts. So been here in Bristol now for a little over a year and a half, and it's nice to be home. My wife Leanne, my two kids, me and Dylan, we live right over the border in Warren. So
You didn't tell us that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Don't let too many people know about that. But I did grow up between both towns. I did spend a good portion of my life in Bristol and in Warren. And to me, it's it's an honor to be able to give what I believe are the best years that I have remaining in my career to the people of Bristol. Yeah. And that's something, being first generation here, that I'm proud to be a part of. So I'm excited. We're looking forward to having Sarah back. But as it goes, we'll continue, building up what's been built before I was here. And we got a great team over there, whether it's Manny, who's making us all look good, taking care of the parks and grounds for us and our buildings. We have Michelle Martins, who just moved over, helping us out in the office there as our administrative assistant. And we have some great instructors and volunteers that come through on a daily basis. And the best part are the residents. We have a great number of residents that make use of the community center. And what's nice too is our different parks and grounds. We're able to support King Philip Little League, Bristol Youth Soccer Association, who are providing programming for hundreds of families, and anything we can do to make that experience for our residents is something that we're working on.
Something that's going on right now is the threat of Tripoli, which is a mosquito-borne virus. You are spraying the complex fields. I know you do it normally every 6 weeks, but you just did a spraying this past Monday, right?
We did. We had over at the sports complex, the Town Beach Sports Complex, we had the soccer fields, softball fields, the baseball fields, and around the courts taken care of. And we do have a successful fall ball program going through King Philip Little League. So we made sure that we paid attention over to Vets Park also to make sure that families are safe and comfortable being there, especially as kids are there for practice in the evenings.
Okay. The summer camp was a great success. One of the things I'm proud of is that we added a week.
We did.
Yeah. Maybe we'll add another week next year. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll take a look at it. We're going to look
We're
at the
always
school
pushing.
schedule and see what we can do to make it work and accommodate our families and give a great experience again to the kids in Bristol. So we did have, we do cap at about 500 because we only hire X amount of people, and it's we want to make sure that we can operate a safe and fun camp. And following the 500, which this past year we filled in about 6.5 weeks, we filled to that number, the registrations, and then what we do is we take on a wait list, and we were able to accommodate all 60 of the campers that were on that wait list. So all in all, we had 560 Bristol children from age 6 to 14 that were able to experience a summer camp over at what I think is the best location in the state.
I had two of my children went, and the funny thing that what I get a kick out of is when I see those knock hockey tables. They're from the 1960s. They were probably per order of the Bristol Recreation Board many years ago that they purchased them. But man, they look like museum pieces. But it's one of the biggest hits, isn't it? The knock hockey tables.
It is, especially with the younger groups. And what's great is if you come down, you'll see they'll kind of, with the great counselors we have, they'll take them throughout the sports complex to different programs, and you'll always see these younger kids with the groups. There'll always be two of them responsible for carrying the knock hockey board, and somebody following behind with the sticks and the pucks. So it's a great thing, and it's something that everyone should be experiencing as a young camper.
Right, swimming. We still have lessons there for swimming, and we're looking for lifeguards for next year.
We are. We're looking for lifeguards always. So this year we did have, and it's not just us across the state, there is a shortage, and the State Park and Rec Association is sitting down and trying to come up with creative ways to make lifeguarding something that's more appealing. And I think it's a great summer job. It pays well, and it's something that's always going to be sitting there for you, and it's a great skill to have.
We're running short on time here, but we're big on maintenance, as we know, and we've been hitting all the pucks. Yesterday, we met with our mason, John Pacheco. I have a picture I took of him yesterday, so I'm gonna share that if we can get that on camera. But Tim, you're doing a great job with your staff, and anyone at home, please check in at Recreation. There's plenty of things going on there. After school programs. There's crafts. There's pickleball, and there's all kinds of things going on at Recreation. We have to have you back again, and there's a lot of other things we could talk about.
I look forward to it.
But I'm out of time, and thank you, everybody at home, all of our residents, our people maybe just checking in to see what's going on in Bristol. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Administrators Table.